If, like me, you wake up one morning and decide, oh, I want French curls and I'm going to put them in myself using silky satin hair, then watch this video for tips on how to avoid getting into a hot tangled mess. Let's have a quick look at the final steps of the installation, and then I'm going to get into the tips that you need to follow for an easy installation to avoid wasting hair and to avoid getting super frustrated by the potential tangling. I'm using the French Curl Silky Satin Hair by wicked.co.uk. I used two types of knots to tie the ends. One was a wraparound and the other one was a shoelace type knot. Occasionally I did wet the whole strand again and brush out the strand just to make sure that there were no knots. So that was 1 week ago. I did not have the time at the time to talk about the install. I think it was something silly o'clock, like 2 o'clock in the morning. So here I am today to talk about the installation. Obviously, I can give you a 1 week update on this hair and also things that you must do with a problem-free install. So let's get right into it. I only used 2.5 packs of hair. I didn't want to have a really heavy weight on my head, and if you consider that each pack of hair was about 150 grams, 2.5 packs is 400 grams or so, which was more than enough weight on my head for me. So I did the actual base. Can you see each base is a fair size, and I preferred it that way because, as I said, I didn't really want too much weight. That said, that doesn't mean I don't have volume. I mean, I have a lot of volume. The curls at the bottom give you a lot of volume. That's a good tip to start off with. If you don't want to have super fine braids on your head and you don't want to sort of be like that, just use fewer bundles and you can still get a great effect. The hair that I used was from wicked.co.uk, and actually it was the silky satin hair. So they have a couple of types. One is like this super silky. Can you see how silky that is? And then they have one which is a silky yaki, and I went for this super silky one, which did present a few challenges. Now, I did follow the instructions initially. Well, actually, I think I didn't follow the instruction initially, which is probably part of the problem. So there is an instruction card on there, and it did say dip the hair in water, which I did not. I just literally undid the bundle and then I went to separate it. And yes, I learnt the hard way. I made the mistakes, so you don't have to. Let's talk about separating the hair. The first thing you need to do is separate the hair once into half, like 2 half bundles, right? That shouldn't be too difficult. Really important, when separating the hair, do so slowly. Now, the reason why it might not seem like much to say, but the slower you separate the hair, the less friction that builds. But that is tip number 1, separate slowly. If you do it fast, you'll end up with knots at the bottom. Number 2, what I learned is that the hair will naturally fall into some sort of breaks. It's better to follow the breaks in the hair than it is to try and create your own breaks. Not to say that you shouldn't create your own size, but it does make it easier. That said, I still had some parts of the hair which were tangling, as I was separating that, which was I found really frustrating. That's when I read the instructions, and the instructions said to dip the hair in water, so I did. And to be fair, that made it a little bit easier, but not completely. So here is my third tip, which is the one that will work. That is definitely a game changer. Conditioner. Really cheapy old conditioner. I think this one cost me £1. And I placed the conditioner on the ends of the hair, the bit of the hair that's actually going to be loose, so just the ends of the hair, because that's where it tangles as you're separating. So I put it on the ends of the hair, and then I just dipped that section in water. It was like a light bulb moment. It's made everything just so much easier. And after that, I didn't have any issues. I could separate the hair where I wanted, how I wanted, as I wanted. It just made everything easier. Now, it does have to be wet. Obviously, this hair is now dried. If I want to use it again, I will just dip it in water. I don't need to apply any more conditioner to the ends of that. And the nice thing is that in the end, if you've got a bit of conditioner on the ends, you might choose to wash it out, you might choose not to wash it out, but as you create your ringlets, you can just rinse out that conditioner, apply your mousse, and voila, you've got rid of the conditioner at the end. I decided not to take the conditioner out completely. I knew that as I styled it throughout the week, I would eventually lose any extra conditioner that was in the hair. Once I had that down to a T, the next thing that you're going to need is a bowl with some water in it. Why? Because as you braid, dip your fingers in the water and your fingers will glide down the strands. Why was that important? Because whilst the hair is silky, my natural hair is normal afro hair, you know? And what was happening was that it was like a vine around the actual strands. So my natural hair was creating a tangle in the silky satin hair. I was like, oh, you are kidding me. However, with wet fingers, that didn't happen. So important, wet fingers. The final thing is when you apply the hair, separate it immediately. So just pull those strands to make sure they're separate. When you normally apply hair initially, you normally do 2 or 3 to get going. You can probably only afford to do 2, separate, and then carry on braiding. And then you won't have any issues with tangling as you go down. Now, as I said, I wanted volume, but I didn't want too much weight. I used about that much hair for each braid. So quite a bit of hair, but you can see that it doesn't come out really fat, the braid. So you can afford to use bigger chunks of hair for fairly thin braids. Does that make sense? Final tip, just use a tangle teaser like brush. Again, I always spray water on my brushes when I'm using these type of brushes, and just take a strand and make sure that that strand is just brushed out. If there's any knots in it, get rid of that straight away so that you don't have any problems with curling it in the end. And hey presto, ta-da! Is it worth the aggravation? Yeah, it's so pretty. The hair is super pretty. I think that once you know what you're doing, it's okay. I made a load of mistakes. It was a very steep learning curve, but now that I know what I'm doing, I think that it would be really easy moving forwards. And you can obviously wear it in a beautiful ringlet style, or you can just wear the whole thing down and out. I have actually cut the hair, and let's just separate the curls. Now you can see this is after 1 week. That conditioner on the tips just kept the hair beautiful. I have used a bit of mousse to create my ringlets. Remember, the hair is heat resistant, so if your curls drop, then you can recreate your curls. But the reason why the Silky Satin one is different to the Silky Yaki one is that you tend to not lose the curls as quickly as you would with the Silky Yaki one. The colour I used is the Cinnamon Swirl, which if you've been watching my channel long enough, you'll know is so up my alley because I am so partial to a blonde and I love these blonde curls. And you can see that it even has like this rose gold and it starts with like a dark base. So absolutely in love with this hair. After a week, you saw I'm not really getting any tangling. I'm not really getting, the curls are so absolutely gorgeous. Love it, love it. So remember, use my tips to avoid problems when you're installing and you will absolutely love this hair.